Hello everybody, welcome back to Iain the Tech Bear, and I'm your host Iain Bennett. And on today's episode I'm going to talk about part 2 of autonomous driver systems. And when we're talking about autonomous driver systems, you really can't not talk about Tesla. So what I've got behind me here is my Tesla Model X, which has been an epic drive. I've experienced both full self-driving, version 11 and 12, and I've got thoughts. And the thoughts I have are really around the perception of autopilot and full self-driving. Autopilot is actually excellent, as is full self-driving. Especially in the version 12 version that's now just been released. Autopilot and all these driver assistance systems and full self-driving are meant to be supervised. And much respect to those who have lost people who use autopilot inappropriately. I have no words. It's not something that you read a newspaper with. It's not something that you fall asleep while at the wheel. You're meant to provide oversight. All right, enough said about that. This 2024 version of the Tesla Model Y uses Tesla Vision. So everything is vision based. There's no radar assisted cruise control. Everything's handled by images. So there's one camera on the front here, although I do hear that there is some form of radar or maybe LiDAR that's not currently enabled. So if anybody can confirm that in the comments, I'd appreciate hearing that. So you've got a camera there. You've got a camera down here on the fender. You've got that Tesla pillar camera. And we've got one at the back as well. And that's repeated, at least the side ones are repeated on the other side as well. All right, so welcome to the inside of this particular car. So what we have here is we have the display. Let's say heads up unit. This doesn't have a heads up unit, otherwise I'd see it here. Anyway, you've got the display here, and we can say, hey, let's go to Loblaws in the small. And there we go. You say, yep, go ahead, calculating route. And then literally it's move forward, and I'm just gonna move out of my driveway. I'm sure I could get this going myself, but we'll get started. And here we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn on full self-driving right here on the scroll wheel, and there it is. The car is now literally right onto driving Road. Itself. Slowing down and making a right turn. I'm not doing anything with the actual steering wheel. Right onto Keene Avenue. This is actually a pretty incredible system, especially version 12. Version 11 was kind of like a hesitant teenager, very nervous, timid. Now turn right onto Keene Avenue. Version 12 is kind of like a confident driver, and a very safe one at that. I'll explain in a bit. I shall explain now. Essentially, when driving in rain, this car actually refused to let me do the speed limit. It was always about 5 to 10 kilometers slower than the actual posted speed limit on major highways. So there we go. It's checking the intersection out, seeing if it's safe, and there we go. The system will confirm that you're actually engaged, make sure you're monitoring the system. It will flash up here, sort of gray, etc., or you just, let me turn that off. There we go, before I get a hit. And just really confirm that, hey, you're actually engaged, and turn the steering wheel or press or flick the scroll wheel.
In 200 meters, turn right.
And here we go.
Now turn right.
And I've arrived
now
at my destination.
Is on the left.
It's recognizing people in front of me that are walking across, slowing down, and being a very cautious driver. I'm going to take over and turn right here. The system will also auto park. It's a little busy. Well, might be able to just up ahead here. There we go. If I slow down, it should recognize that there are places to park. And there we go. Selecting, and there we go. It's auto parking. And what's really neat is it recognizes spaces that are not near a other vehicles, so it'll park within the lines. It's using Tesla Vision to actually do all this, which is pretty epic. And you do want to make sure that you're checking the cameras, but also actually checking behind, make sure you're okay. And there we go, it's parked and fully parked. Voila, really brilliant system. So one of the things that's really cool about Tesla Vision is being able to see the parking lines that are on the ground here, and just epic. So when I auto park, it actually senses and will park in the middle of any spot that it finds. It's not like it's stuck between two cars and it has to go there. It'll auto park in any parking spot. I actually parked manually in this one. I've driven into it, but yeah, some really cool things about this system. For me, having full self-driving on regular roads, to me, I don't really need it. For me, where autopilot and full self-driving come into play, that's really important for me, is on long drives on highways, motorways, etc. I don't want to be stuck holding down the gas pedal, and I will hold on to the steering wheel for the most part, but I don't want to be stuck in this position all the time. And that's what the value is of the previous system on my BMW X5 versus and even on the Teslas that we have. So let's talk a little bit about some of the settings. Autopilot, you've got full self-driving, you've got auto steer beta, and you have traffic aware cruise control. 3 different variants of different driver assist systems. So traffic aware cruise control really is about just purely cruise control and keeping its distance from a car. You can actually set the follow distance, by number of seconds on this particular vehicle. You can use this functionality to drive on regular roads, and it'll recognize actual traffic lights, etc. You can set the speed based on sort of the speed limit or the current speed that you're driving, so it will actually recognize traffic signs as you're driving. And you can also adjust by 2 kilometers an hour or by percentage if you want. Speed limit warnings, you can give it a chime to say or display a message, or completely turn them off to say, hey, you're speeding. And then there's also a speed limit offset, so you can actually offset it by 10%. So if you're one of those people that drives 5 to 10 kilometers an hour over the speed limit pretty much everywhere, then you can certainly do that. Forward collision warning, I'm actually going to set that to late because I find medium is actually quite intrusive and surprising sometimes. And then lane departure avoidance, it can actually assist, it can warn or turn off in traffic aware cruise control. So this has quite a good lane keep system. And of course some additional things, such as a green traffic light chime, which is nice for if you're someone who kind of zones out at traffic or at intersections. You can actually have the system, hey, remind you, and some other settings there. Okay, auto steer, which is beta, essentially it's part of, well, some of the features are part of enhanced autopilot. So Tesla has 3 levels of autopilot and full self-driving. You've got autopilot, then you've got enhanced autopilot, which has features such as summon, auto summon, I think I got that right. The park assist, which just came out for Tesla Vision, and then navigate on autopilot, which essentially is right here actually, for highways, which to me, enhanced autopilot is really the functionality I really would need. I personally, after the 4 months of full self-driving that I've got after buying this new, plus the 1 month extra that Tesla has provided, I don't really need full self-driving. It's a cool feature. It's really cool. I think highly of it once I got used to it, and certainly with this version 12, which is very much end-to-end neural network based. But auto steer or enhanced autopilot is really perfect for me. So I turn on navigate on autopilot. You can say, hey, enable at the start of every trip, which I would say, yep. Speed-based lane changes, so it will automatically lane change, so I could turn that off, have mild, average, or Mad Max as it has here. Exit passing lane, so go back into sort of the middle or far right lane here in North America and Canada. Yeah, and then require lane change confirmation, yes or no. Actually, it's kind of nice because I'm so used to the full self-driving switching lane changes automatically, and it will sort of tell me that I can use a chime or vibrate or both when it says, you know, hey, I'm ready to lane change. And honestly, full self-driving, I'm so used to not getting that notification that I'm fine with autopilot doing its own thing. And then of course the traffic light stop sign control beta, and of course the standard speed things, etc. And then finally, you have the option on TAC and auto steer to have a single click of the scroll wheel or double click. So if you double click, auto steer fully takes, it's almost like a light version of full self-driving, but then if it disengages, it goes back to traffic aware cruise control. So that's the value of having the double click setting. If a single click, then it's just auto steer, and then back to you driving and having to take manual control right away. Full self-driving, with version 12, they stopped the whole single double click option. It's just single click, so it's on. I have not actually seen it disengage since version 11. So version 12, it's pretty rock solid. I've certainly disengaged it because I wanted to do something a little bit different than the system wanted to, or maybe I felt like I needed to take over for whatever reason. So the options you have, you've got an actual profile, so whether it's chill or average or assertive, so things like changing lanes or how fast it accelerates. By the way, apologies for my last video. I could not for the life of me think of the word accelerate. I'm quirky that way sometimes, a little bit awkward. That's me. All right. Lane change notification, again, off, chime, vibrate, both. One thing that I find really valuable is this minimal lane changes for current drive, because what I've found with full self-driving is it will often switch lanes quite a bit, and sometimes I just want to be in control of that. So I turn on minimal lane changes for the current drive, and I'm in control of when I choose to switch lanes, etc. It will change lanes after a while if it thinks that, yeah, you really should change lanes, etc. I have no problems with that. Automatic set speed offset, so you can actually change sort of an offset for speed. I haven't actually used it, so that turns on the speed limit warning, and then you can change the actual values there. Of course, speed limit warning, whether you're over, you're speeding, what have you. Forward collision warning, the emergency lane departure warning, etc. So actually, I'm going to turn that off. There we go. So very similar settings, etc. So that's really all the settings for Autopilot. Let's get this on the highway, and let's see what kind of driving we can get into. I really like this vehicle. I think I actually prefer it over my BMW X5, which I traded this in for. It's very planted. It is a heavy vehicle because of the batteries. It's always ready to go, and it is a quirky vehicle. I've always had somewhat quirky vehicles. I would say the least quirky vehicles I've had were my BMWs. But my history of Toyota Echoes, Prii, a Mini that was complete lemon, unfortunately, and now our Teslas, a Model Y and Model X. Let's talk about some of the quirks. So, the steering wheel. Thankfully, this is not the steering wheel with the horn button right here. It's actually got the horn right here. Yes, that was the thing with Tesla. Yeah. I sometimes feel like Tesla just changes things for the sake of changing things, which I think is kind of silly. Let's talk about the turn indicators. So there are no stocks on this vehicle. I'm actually switching with the screen between park, drive, reverse, etc. And the turn signals, it took some getting used to. In the test drive that we did, I was constantly going, where's the turn signal? And I've gotten used to this really quickly. It's actually really intuitive. The upper button is right, the lower button is left. And in fact, when I switched to our Model Y, I'm like, where are my buttons? Oh no, it's the stock. So I'm having to constantly switch back and forth. I guess I'll become bilingual in Tesla. Other than that, the minimalist features of this car, I actually really like it. The other thing I'm actually kind of surprised at is the fact that CarPlay, it doesn't have CarPlay, and I'm not distracted by CarPlay and messages that are coming in on my phone. And there we go, full self-driving turned on. I'm not distracted by text messages and notifications and such, and I actually really like that. It's made my drives calmer, etc. Navigate to Home Depot. So there we go, we'll do a 2-kilometer drive to Home Depot, and there we go. It now knows where we're going.
Take Highway 427 collector toward the Queensway. Now
I choose to
take Highway 427 collector.
try and sort of force the system to speed up, that truck is going off. Well, if he were staying on, it would auto switch Let's get back down. There we go. It is a really quiet ride, this particular car. Super impressed by that. Much quieter than the Model Y, but the Model Y is certainly, in the grand scheme of Tesla vehicles, is a more economical vehicle than this vehicle, which really is a luxury vehicle. It's got microphones actually in the seats here that actually counteract the noise from outside, the tire noise,
Now
etc.
take the Queensway exit on the right.
Alright, so kind of a basic
In
drive
200
here.
meters, turn right onto the Queensway.
But I've jumped off the 427 and it's now picking the far right lane. Not completely necessary, but I'd say my actual approach to driving in this particular area is sticking in the left lane and turning from there. The display, I see sort of an AI view of what the camera sees and what it recognizes. So it recognizes the truck, it recognizes the pickup in front of me, cars to the left, and cars that are actually turning. And yeah, that's pretty incredible. It also recognizes the traffic lights. And a really cool feature is when that car or truck in front of me turns off its, its brake lights, they will go to a darker shade of red on the display here. I also see sort of the map view here on the left hand side as well as here. Other quirky features, this camera view of when I turn right and when I turn left, so in this case turning right, really awesome for making sure I'm aware of bikers that are around me, and making sure that
Now turn
they're
right
safe.
onto the Queensway.
Let's see how it handles this.
In 200 meters, turn right.
Okay. So it did not signal my left lane change.
Now turn right.
Will it signal? There we go. So there are times where it will signal sort of a merge, and then sometimes it won't signal a merge. And you'll notice that it is driving in the parking lot, and its modus operandi is to go to the front entrance of where you are. And I can always override it with the steering wheel.
Now your destination is on the left.
Accordingly. I don't actually need to get anything here, but there we go. I'm parked, and there we go. Turn off the turn signal. There we go. A little bit hard to handle the turn signals when the steering wheel is at an angle like this, so that's a little silly. But it just requires a little bit of I'm trying to think of the word, the ability to manipulate placement of the buttons to where it is on the steering wheel. So yeah, that's the introduction to full self-driving, my thoughts on full self-driving. I will certainly endeavor to do a longer drive this weekend and give you a full taste of what the system really is like. And you know what, let's head home, and what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go back to Loblaws. Yeah, funny that I've got Shell there because of car washes, and it's a touchless car wash. Okay, down for reverse. I'm going to go right. And forward. I love these people that forget that parking lanes are two-way. And actually,
in 200 meters, turn right onto North Queen Street.
let's test this driving in this parking lot. This is a bit of a quirky parking lot because the people that enter from the left here have right of way. They are told explicitly, do not stop. And thankfully it's clear. It's a little bit of a quiet afternoon here, which is a good thing. Especially for testing new scenarios like this.
Now turn right onto North Queen Street.
There's the stoplight. Oh, now it's green. So it's a little bit slow to turn. That's okay. Recognize the bus and it's changed lanes. Here's a tip. I know some people have been complaining that their Teslas have been running into the curb, I should say, with full self-driving version 12 and a few other things, like people saying, hey, it's not centered in the lane. My recommendation is to recalibrate your camera. So anytime you get a new Tesla, one of the first things that it will do, actually Autopilot and full self-driving won't work out of the box, if you will. The car needs to go through a calibration process. What you do is get it onto a major highway, let it calibrate, and then it'll let you use the autopilot functionality. But yeah, I recommend trying that. And interestingly, I guess I've trained it to go home through the small, because normally it would try and route me onto the 427, but I've kind of canceled it and said, no, I don't want to go that particular route. I want to take back roads when I go home from this area. So also, I am also going to a place on the small, which again could have taken the 427 up, but
in 200 meters, turn left onto the East Mall.
other quirky features that I really like.
Left onto the East Mall.
Whenever I use the turn signals, you know how you're used to, you go partway down, it flashes for 3 times on some vehicles. Obviously, all the way down, it will constantly show the turn signal. This particular car, what it'll do is you press the turn signal, and then once you've actually changed lanes, that's when it turns off the functionality. That's when it actually turns off the steering wheel. Sorry, the traffic indicators. That's when it'll actually turn off the turn indicators. And like I think I've said, while I'm on a highway, if in Ontario here, we have parts of the highway which are 100 kilometers per hour, and then we have parts that are 110 kilometers per hour. So if I'm in a 110 zone and then I go into a 100 kilometer per hour zone, the car will actually slow down automatically based on what it sees. So that's actually a really, really handy feature. Do I trust Autopilot and full self-driving? I do. It took me a while to trust full self-driving for sure under version 11 because of how hesitant it was, etc. And I'll be honest, I really did not care for that version of full self-driving. But again, really quite cool. And there we go. It's recognizing I'm in a 40 zone and brought me down to 40 as I got through that intersection. Again, as I said in my little rant at the beginning of this video, These are systems that are meant to be supervised. I think it's cool that you've got Tesla, you've got companies like Waymo who have built full autonomous driver systems that, you know, in the Waymo fleet in San Francisco, you do not need a driver. You know, you get in the car, it drives. That's pretty incredible. It shows where we've gotten to with computer vision, computers themselves, and the efficiency to be able to do all that and have the range on these electric vehicles. And there's certainly no reason why a gas-powered vehicle couldn't actually do this as well. It just happens to be Tesla is a technology company. They're not just a car company. They are more a technology company. Anybody who thinks that they're a car company, not quite. You don't quite have it. There are cases where sometimes it'll do phantom slowdowns. It's sort of like, I don't know what you're seeing that would cause you to slow down. You can certainly override the speed through the pedal, but depends on the scenario and situation you're in. So not much more to say about this particular vehicle. Again, I really like it. It drives beautifully. It drives better than I thought it would because of certainly the reviews and quality issues that Tesla has had. And there's one issue on this particular vehicle that I've seen quality-wise. It's not a big deal. And I am probably going to take a picture of it and send it up to service. Tesla service has been really good so far. We'll see what they say about this. And yeah, and the purchase experience is just so much better. The whole negotiation process, etc., with car companies, I'm tired of that. You know, tell me what the price is. If it's what I expect it to be, then great. And this one was actually a demo model, so I saved quite a bit of money by getting a demo model. Had about 3,000 kilometers on it. So that's my tip of the day on buying a Tesla. And of course, if you would like any, if you're interested in buying one, use my code in the comments, because that will give you some extra benefits. So my friends Soren and Mike gave me their code when we bought our Model Y, and we got 3 months of free self-driving. Using the loyalty code from purchasing our Model Y, we got 3 months of full self-driving, a full year of premium connectivity, and there was something else we got. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So the car is entering the intersection, preparing for making the left turn, waiting for traffic. And of course, this camera turned off in front of me, so hi everybody. And that's really it. It's almost like a symbiotic relationship that you have with the car. You know, they're doing stuff, you're monitoring, and then you take over from where they can't, etc. And again, full self-driving has been really good. I've driven this from here to Cleveland. I've driven our Model Y from here to Ottawa, version 11 to Ottawa, version 12 to Cleveland. version 12 is actually way more stable. So if you're still on 11 and still waiting for that upgrade to version 12, it is worth the wait. And if you're on an older version of the hardware and computer system, then, you know, and you're interested in taking advantage of full self-driving, then it may be worth the hardware upgrades that you can get on your vehicle. That is one of the really cool things about Tesla, is you can actually get hardware upgrades and camera upgrades for your vehicles. Interestingly, full self-driving is now available in Canada on a monthly subscription, $99 a month versus the $16,000 for the actual software, or really the license to have the software on your vehicle. So it is pricey from the perspective of buying it outright, but the $99 a month is actually a steal. It used to be $199 US per month, and no subscription available in Canada. So, and Canada gets a deal, $99 versus $99 US. The US folks, you're paying a little bit more relative to our exchange rate. Of course, the ultimate reason why you buy a Tesla Model X, Steam integration. By the way, I do use Steam when supercharging, especially on long road trips where I want to take longer to charge up, rather than the recommendations that Tesla makes on charge limits and then go, etc. Anyway, full self-driving, you know, to me, it is definitely safer in especially on the long road trips, etc. And they've proven through studies that because the cars and the AI systems are able to pick up certain things, like there are stories about deer coming off the side of the road and you know, the system slowing down the car and stopping the car because, you know, and not hitting the deer where, you know, a human driver might. So there you go. And by the way, yes, Cyberpunk does actually run on a Tesla.
This is important. Judy's always...
And that's Iain the Tech Bear signing out for today.